Welcome back, players, to the PLAYROOM Podcast. We are chatting to Sylvaine Strike here about her professional side. Hey,
Hello.
Syl.
Hi. It's good to be back.
Yeah, wow. I haven't seen you in a week. All right. When you are in the position of creating work and thus having to direct, create, and star in it, how do you compartmentalize each of these demanding professional roles and keep yourself sane?
Okay. I have firstly never done the unimaginable, which is to direct myself. I think it is something, part of me admires it when people do that, but part of me also thinks, what the actual?
They're not sane.
I don't
Yeah.
understand. I don't understand how that's possible without some kind of objectivity. So I take my hats off to those who can. But when I compartmentalize, so producing is a big thing, which happened again, organically.
Yeah.
It happens because you want creative control over your work. It happens because you want independence over your work. You don't want an institution to own the work. You need to put your own stamp on it and have creative control. So I guess to answer the question briefly, I learned to juggle really early.
Oh, wow, that's very clown of you. So.
Grdish.
Yeah. So the juggling thing.
The juggling thing.
Yeah. And so when you're stepping in from being director to acting, is there like a process you take yourself through? Or, I mean, for me, quite literally when I'm driving between performing, like from spring, choreographing to performing in the car, I'm like, right, now we're becoming something different.
Yeah, you do. You
have
do
a song I play. I'm like, now I'm, you got to do that for yourself.
You've got to absolutely do that for yourself. And I think it has got to do with the self-discipline to just allow yourself time.
Yeah.
Time between two places.
Yeah.
When you're your age, not necessarily. You can just, you can take a drive.
Yeah.
Drive from A to B in Cape Town, and that's your downtime.
Yeah.
And I think that's fantastic. But you do need that downtime, and you do take it. So the other thing I learned very early to do is when I'm performing in theatre is to just absolutely not take on a directing approach to the work.
Yeah.
It's hard, but you've got to really be absolutely available to your director.
Yeah.
And as much as I work in collaborative teams, for example, Andrew Buckland and myself and Tony Morkel on Firefly, I had to really stop myself from being from wearing the director's hat.
Yeah.
And then when we were on tea break, I would maybe put it back on and go, I was thinking about it from this perspective.
Yeah.
And can we have a look at that in the next time we try this? But if you wear them at the same time, it is absolutely deadly. And it's really bad for the actor side of me to constantly watch it from the outside. So my creative energy stops, and I become sort of responsible for a bigger picture, which I really don't want to be. And it affects the process. So yeah, I think it's important to really be very clear of the boundaries between those different mediums. But there's something wonderful about South African performing artists in that we are almost forced to become all these things for survival purposes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're living in Germany, you can sign up or be signed up to a theatre company and work for them your whole life from 9 to 5 and in repertory. While you're rehearsing one, you're on stage at night, you clock off at 5, you have pension, and you have medical aid, and that is inconceivable to us.
Yeah.
So we have to, and this is why Lambda, and I will absolutely punt that, is so exceptional. It is opening you up to believing you can be a voiceover artist, a dancer, a choreographer, a designer, a theatre director, an actor, a musical dancer, a musical theatre director, a musical theatre actor. And the more, and I mean everyone, the attitude to that is, well, master, what is it called? Jack of all trades, master of none. But I think if you can master 3 of those, it's possible.
I think so too. it was an insecurity for a long time. I was like, well, I'm a jack of all trades. I'm not ever going to be exceptional at one. But I don't think that's true, because sometimes I might not be a master, but I'm seeing it in a different way because I've had the privilege of bouncing between different things, and I'm able to leak those into each other. So it might not make me a master, but it makes me an individual, and I like that skill set is so individual.
It's massive. It's massive, and I will grow it in any young performer I teach.
Yeah,
I really believe it. That's the only way. That's why I'm here in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think that, I don't know, how do you feel? Do you think that being a director has made you a better actor, even though you switch it off in that moment?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And it's one of the reasons, I often get asked, well, why do you still perform?
Yeah.
And I go, firstly, I love it. But secondly, it makes me a better director.
Yeah.
And it makes me remember the vulnerability of performance. Mm-hmm. Too many directors go off to just be that, and they may never have performed, but they'll never understand truly what it takes of an actor. Yeah. And it takes a lot to keep giving and giving and giving and feeling like you're getting it wrong. So once you keep putting yourself in that position, even if it's on a commercial.
Yeah, remind yourself
that there are ways to ask things of an actor that'll make that actor give you everything without feeling abused.
Yeah. I think I was able to choreograph Spring Awakening because I'd just been at Atlanta and I understand the experience of those people in the room. But I think it's very important that I go on to perform in different spaces before I go and choreograph there. And that is something I just believe. Yeah. Because I need to understand the different spaces to like handle it with love, like you say.
100%.
Yeah.
And it does. It will automatically make you a much finer artist.
Yeah.
To expose yourself to those different mediums, knowing that each one will better the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. You've acted in theatre, film, and TV, directed and created many award-winning shows. We just spoke about this. How important is diversification in the modern industry of ours? Yeah. So I think we don't need to answer that question.
Yeah, but we've covered that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just want to ask you: how did you find film versus theatre? Like, what's your take on that?
I really love film, but I've never felt comfortable in film. I find it to this day like deeply alienating.
Yeah.
And though it professes and is probably the most natural medium you can ever see, in the sense that when you're watching it, you feel like you're in the room with somebody. You see their every wrinkle, their every gesture, their every eye movement, as if they were right in front of you. And it's the most natural and realistic thing in the world. But the process of it is the most unnatural thing in the world.
It's crazy.
Sitting right here with cameras and having a conversation and feeling like it's intimate. It is, because we know each other.
Yeah.
But being intimate with the presence of so many other people, so much equipment, so much stuff, plugged in and on you, and out of continuity, and having to like hit the mark, stepping out of a trailer and crossing a field and then just getting it right, the level of focus that you have to retain. Whereas in a theatre, when you're in the story from beginning to end, that containment, that safety, the ability to manipulate the situation within that context as an artist is so much more, it's not safe, but conducive, I suppose, to expressing oneself entirely. So I find film very hard.
It is. It's very difficult. I think, especially if you are creative and you realize it's actually not that creative, it's quite technical.
Hugely.
And you're like, what?
Yeah.
I thought we were going to, play. But no, there's
hugely.
It's kind of how I think the first time I came off set, I explained to my mom, I was like, Mom, like, film is like baking. It's very scientific. And theatre's like cooking. It's very artistic. And
it's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, and it's like, I was like, but I'm quite good at baking because I can follow instruction and hit the mark, but it's way more exciting to cook because like what's going to come out of it, you don't know.
Yeah. It's formulaic. Yeah. There is something formulaic in film, and I don't think we have an industry where you and I, for example, have enough experience on film that we get to a point, and I'm talking about in this country, where we feel free within that medium.
Yeah.
Because we're not getting enough run in, and I think that, actors who only do film understand those parameters so well that they're free within them.
Yeah.
But wow, it really is formulaic, and as you say, the experimental nature of film is minimal.
Yeah, interesting. All right, when you were an up-and-coming artist, how did you go about supporting yourself to the point where your creative career could sustain you and offer stability? Tell us, please.
Much like what you guys are experiencing now as graduates, newly graduated, I did everything I could. I really crossed all the mediums and tried to learn as much as I could, but survive at the same time. And of course, what you're better at is what keeps coming at you.
Yeah.
If you're lucky to find something that really is good. I think surviving on theatre alone has always been and always will be from the beginning of time, and no matter what country you're in, and this fallacy around, but here, you can't survive on theatre. You can seldom survive on theatre anywhere. But guess what? I have. And it's possible.
Yeah.
And what you do need to put in place are structures that are going to hold you through the times where there is nothing. So when I started out, I would audition a lot and fail a lot and not get, 1 out of 20 maybe would be the match, if that. And I guess the biggest thing was to understand that was no reflection of your failure, but of what they were looking for, and that you were not a match for them.
Yeah.
And when you flip it around like that, it becomes easier. It didn't come straight away, that realization, but it can now. With hindsight, I can share it. I was exceptionally lucky to land a major voiceover gig for Celsi, which really enabled me. They had me on a retainer for 7 years to live a normal life and do theatre work without having to do anything else but the voiceover world and my theatre. So that was a massive blessing. And I will always be grateful for that break. And I've also learned to think, well, Celsi was lucky to have me. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a combination, and that synergy of the right time, the right person, the right voice to sell your product, and that product coming to me. I mean, I was able to put down a deposit for a house on the voiceover work alone. I was able to have both my children and grow enormous and vile while doing the voice in a theatre booth, while nobody ever knew that I was changing. You know what I mean? Like physically changing. My voice could carry those changes and those shifts, and it's something that I really wanted. So I was able to find it, and I think that when you really visualize, it does appear.
You put your heart and your mind to theatre, and the world was like, okay, we'll just do this one thing and we'll provide.
Yep, it is 100% that, and I believe it. It really does manifest.
Yeah, I think, it's so important. Like my mom always says, just imagine you are there and something will come and help you be there.
It will, and it does.
And it does.
And I think those, like manifesting, I want a life in theatre, is very different to saying, I want to be a star of theatre and get all the musical and theatre awards that are available to me. That has never been something I've aspired to. A life in theatre, yes. How it worked out was yet to be determined. But I knew that that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I guess why we do what we do often begins for the need to be visible. But that matters less and less.
Yeah.
The more work you make.
Yeah. It's interesting how, like, in high school, I'm like, I want to be famous. I want to be a star. Turned into, like, I want to make one person in the audience feel something. Like, you mature quite quickly in that sense.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it becomes more valuable.
Yeah. And then you feel fulfilled.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always, like, I'll tell you this one story. So my mom once made me do, like, this manifestation. My mom's with the fairies. We all know this.
And I remember your mom.
Yes.
Crystal clowns.
Yes. And she just told me to, like, imagine my life. And basically I I imagined myself with short hair and Doc Martens, and I was carrying a script. I went and sat down and had coffee with some friends. I was like, yeah, I'm going to rehearsal now. And then like at Lambda, I cut my hair short and I wear Doc Martens every day. And my mom was like, Anna, do you remember that story you told me when you were pudgy in grade 10 with long hair? And it's so interesting. I was like,
wow.
I was like, I just imagined like, yeah, I was like with my friends and I was like, I'm going to rehearsal. And like my mom was like, okay, let's see.
But that's magnificent. It's not you holding an Oscar. It's you on the move working.
Yeah, like, and I was like, Mom, it's happening. Like, I was sitting at OKR outside Lambda and I had like the script in my hand.
And your hair is short.
Yeah, my hair's short and it was bobbing around. And she was like, there we go.
So exquisite.
It's like, that's how you do it. Just imagine yourself
wonderful.
there. So I keep trying to have those kind of visions for myself, and how I get there is so part of the journry. It's how
wonderful.
exciting.
Wonderful.
So
amazing.
Yeah, that's my
and not in the least surprising.
Yeah, it's very cool. So yeah, does the mad rush from project to project ever stop or slow down?
I've learned to understand that sometimes one doesn't want it to.
Yeah.
In order to keep making and visible and relevant. But I have of late, and wherefore I know not, lost all my mirth. And so I had to make a very conscious effort to stop. And that came from a feeling of being burnt out. And when you're burnt out, a lot of things happen.
Yeah.
A lot of things happen. The sense of self. You lose a sense of self. You lose a sense of worth. You also pay less attention to detail on every aspect of your life, not just the work you make. So stopping is extremely important. And I took to free diving, which made all the difference.
Oh, how cool. How random and how cool.
It is, yeah, it's random, but also a manifestation of something I needed to do my whole life. So that, for me, is where I afford myself to stop and dive as deep as possible.
That's cool. And do you think that, like, you can feel when that's coming again and know when to stop? Like, have you got that voice inside of you that's keeping you sane, essentially? Sometimes
I realize, not when it's too late, but well into it.
Yeah.
And one can still be, at my age, a sobbing mess in a bed, unable to get up because you're so burnt out. And knowing that, as opposed to thinking my world is imploding, I'm suffering from a breakdown. It's different to just go, okay, I need to stop and actually reboot.
Yeah.
But it takes time. It takes time to identify that in oneself.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to recognize it and name it and allow yourself that time.
Yeah. Are there things that you do daily that keep yourself balanced and keep you, like, reviving yourself?
I never used to, but in the last 3 years I have had to.
Yeah.
It's become really important to have a ritual. And one of them is walking on a beach every day at the same time and just seeing beyond oneself and out into the horizon. And the other one is diving, which is immersing oneself into the blue and challenging oneself to just breathe in and out and hold it and then release it. So those are part of my rituals, and spending as much time as I can with my children, who are growing up so fast that soon they won't be in the house. Well, one of them already isn't, and that's really terrifying. Yeah. So I think that's made me stop
and go, whoa.
But it's taken a while, as you can see. Should have learned that at your age, but I didn't.
But I think that's what's so cool is having you here today, is that people listening, it starts to check into our minds and go, we need to put those things in place now.
Do that.
Yeah.
Do that.
Do those things that will allow longevity and sustainability and allow us to always be producing the best work and feeling fulfilled in it, because we have that balance.
100%. And having the balance means, And I think I said this to you guys in third year, have something beyond this. Make sure that your home life and what you choose to have when the theatre's closed and the curtain comes down.
It's so important.
Just make sure you have that in place. And if you haven't found it yet, know that it's something that will come and that you must really, really, really treasure when it does. Because, well, I think COVID taught us it can be gone in a flash.
Yeah.
And then who are you without it?
Yeah.
And that's really, really important.
Yeah. Awesome. Right. So here is 2 questions just for the Playroom initiative. What advice do you have for budding creative souls in our industry today?
I think a lot of what we've spoken about is advice. And I think it's probably something that you already know, but be in love with what you do.
That's beautiful.
Just remain in love with it. And when you feel you're falling out of love with it, check out for a while and remind yourself why you're doing it. It can become this chase to survive. And as much as, we have to, as artists, survive, what you choose to survive on, you sometimes lose yourself to. And remember why you started to do this.
Yeah.
And don't get lost in a system. Systems are very dangerous for artists.
That's beautiful. Thanks. And then one more question. What are the biggest pitfalls, in your opinion, that our current industry faces?
Mediocrity.
Yeah.
Mediocrity. People standing at the end of a show for every show they see. Reviews not being really, really discerning. The word critiques, theatre critics, came from the word critical, to be objective, to pick up on things that may, not be of the standard or the quality. And I think that that is a major pitfall. And I believe that what's led to mediocrity is our spectacular relationship with, and I don't mean this in a good way, with social media, where everyone can do a song and a dance and everyone is a star of their own lives, failing to remember that what we do should not be about ourselves.
Yeah.
As artists, anyway.
As artists, yeah.
So to stay clear of what the masses want and to define oneself beyond that will help you to stay clear of the pitfalls.
Yeah.
Which are mediocrity and a system.
Beautiful.
Which makes you believe that you have to be a part of.
Yeah. It's true. If there's systems there, we're humans. We want to attach ourselves to something, but staying free can fight mediocrity. Yeah. It really can. And being brave to do that.
And being brave enough to do so independently.
Being brave to critique work, being brave to put on things that are out there.
And being brave enough, and we've said this so many times, but to fail.
Yeah.
And for critiques to go, well, this didn't work, but the potential in this person, when I saw them on stage, means that I can't wait for them to try again.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't work this time. It was not of the standard.
Yeah.
Say it.
It would be, I think we're all dying for that. I really do hope that reviewers or anyone can be brave enough to say it. And it's not in a nasty way. We're not saying put out bad press for theatre. We need audiences. But
no,
it's
100%.
it's about, actually giving valuable feedback.
Yeah, and I believe that it starts in the rehearsal room. I believe it starts with the way I direct actors. If I'm saying to an actor, that this isn't working, A, why isn't it working? And B, you're better than that.
Yeah.
I use that a lot. When an actor is not giving me enough. I don't say, that was shit.
Yeah.
Or I can't watch you, or things we've heard along the way by people who have directed us, perhaps, or in our training. I don't know. I mean, I come from a different school, but being told that you're better than that makes you strive for the very best that you can be, and not to get complacent, and not to give lesser. That's the big challenge, and to remain that way as artists towards each other. Demand the very best.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Syl. It's been amazing chatting to you.
Thank you.
Learned so much, and I can't wait for everyone else to hear all this beautiful insight to you. So thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor.
Of course. All right. Bye, players. See you soon. Bye. Cut. We're done.